Engine 1 from Car 1. Car 1's on scene at Subin Command. Give me a C.A.N report.
Hello, everybody. This is Mike Goldstein, Stickers of the C.A.N Report. I'm with a young, motivated, hard-charging individual. His name is Alex Radfield, and he comes to us from Columbus, Ohio. And I've been watching him for a little bit now. I think a lot of you guys have probably seen him on the social media platforms. He loves to move hose. He's always training at work. He's making some really good motivational videos of actually just putting in training, getting the reps in, and they're awesome videos. And I think they're great. And I just had to reach out to Alex here and get him on the show and talk to him. Alex, thank you so much for coming on the C.A.N Report.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother. I'm excited.
My pleasure, man. It's an honor to talk to people who are so into the job, but also have some really great ideals and are very humble about it, especially for you being, dude, how old are you?
I'm 30.
30. Okay. Well, I thought you were younger than that. So being 30 years old, man, but you're still wicked humble from what you do, and the things that you talk about and the stuff that you promote is awesome. And I just happened to stumble upon you, man. Like I was watching, like I said, we were talking earlier, and we were just I watch you flow. I watch you doing your trainings at your job, and you post some great videos of just putting in work. Just, it doesn't have to be, you're not bragging. You're not glorifying anything. I just love the fact that you're just training with your guys and bettering yourselves. And then with those videos, it's actually pretty educational. I've actually learned myself, I'll save some of those videos and I watch them just to make sure I'm doing it right. So thank you for putting those out, man.
Yeah, man, that's what it's there for.
Yeah.
I put it in the bio when I first made it because I wanted it to be known. I did make the page to really make people think I know more than them or that I'm some expert in the field. But I've had some really incredible people to learn from over my career at different departments, and as well as there's so much good information out there. And so I figured if I can put something out there, just honing in on the basics, and one person learns from it, it's bettering the fire service in some way. And in the grand scheme of things, that's what I care about.
Absolutely. And your page is called Project Backstep.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I love it. That's great, dude. So I'm going to get into your bio here. Alex Radfield. He's a husband to an incredible wife, Allison. He is father of two beautiful baby girls. I'll take his word for it. I haven't seen them, but all baby girls are beautiful, right? Come on.
Absolutely.
So Stella, who's 3, and Cece, who's 1. He's a backstep firefighter from the Columbus Division of Fire. He has a total of 7 years on the job, 6 years career, and 2 years working for Columbus. He also serves on the e-board of the Central Ohio Fools as the chapter's training coordinator. He has a passion for training and honing his craft, especially when it comes to engine operations. And lastly, he runs the Project Backstep Facebook page where he shares his thoughts and documents his journey trying to be a better firefighter every day and hopes to inspire others to get out and do the same. Absolutely, dude. I love it. That's great. That's what you do. Man, you've been inspiring me to go out and do it. Like, I see you flowing and moving. I see you throwing ladders or whatever you got going on. It motivates me to want to get out. I'm like, hey, man, this kid's doing. I want to go out and flow some water, even though it's like, super cold where you are too.
Oh yeah.
It's still fun to get out there and try to get some reps in. I live for that stuff. So I love your methodology of everything. I love your mentality. I think you're doing great stuff. How did you get on to for the Fools? How did you become a training coordinator?
So at my last job, my first full-time job before Columbus, I ended up having a group of guys on the west side of town, the city I was working in, kind of pull me under their wings. And at the time, all 3 of them were involved in the Fools in some way. In our chapter. So one of them, Jared Drennick, who's our president now, he's the one that kind of has been my biggest mentor through everything. And you'll hear me refer to him a couple of times today, I'm sure. But him and the 2 other guys were either e-board or involved in some way, shape, or form, social media, treasury, whatever. And so that's what got me in. So when I was working with them, they pulled me in, just started doing events and stuff like that. And then this last summer, the Fools hosted Aaron Fields with Nozzle Forward. And so I ended up going out, taking that class. And then I'd say a week or 2 after, Jared gave me a call and basically was like, hey, are you interested in taking over the training coordinator position? We just kind of talked about, like, he's been the one I've always gone to, and it's like, am I ready to move to the next step? Am I ready for this? On top of just any fire related questions in general. And so he's like, hey, I think you're ready to move towards building relationships and kind of learning how to teach and doing that side of things as well. And so that's how I got in the training coordinator position. So I've been in that spot for about 6 months now.
Oh, that's great, man. I love it. I'm jealous that you got to do the nozzle forward. I've been wanting to do that. We haven't had it up here in
Yeah.
quite some time. So I'm waiting anxiously for the day to come. Or if people around my area, we decide to invest and actually do it, I'm looking forward to taking it. So lucky you, man. I love it. So you're on Columbus Division. Where did you come before? What were you on?
So I worked for Delaware City before that. It's the town I grew up in, about 45,000 people, 4 stations. It was a good department. I enjoyed it. I just got to a point where I wanted to do more inner city work,
Hmm.
be a little bit busier. And so going to Columbus is a big metropolitan department around our area. So
Gotcha.
that's why I ended up making the change.
Gotcha. And what did you do before you became a firefighter?
So I haven't had any other like career jobs. I went basically out of high school. I went and played college football at a small school called Wittenberg for a year and a half. When I stopped doing that, I got real into CrossFit. And I actually competed for CrossFit for a handful of years, ended up going to regionals on a team. The last or second to last year that the old structure was in place. And so that was the path I was going down. I wanted to open a gym and coach and do that. And then one of the members of the gym I was coaching at was a lieutenant at a department near us, and basically was like, hey, like, you should come ride with me one day. I think you could be really good at this.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, why not? He was someone I looked up to, and I thought he was a good dude. So I was like, I'll give it a chance. I was there for 14 hours that day and left and called home and was like, yeah, this is what I'm gonna do. So
That's awesome.
I knew I didn't want to be working a desk, and if I could do something where at the end of it I said I helped people and I made a difference, that's all I really cared about, and this fit the bill perfectly.
That's fantastic, dude. Love it. And so no one in your family's ever been a firefighter. You just did a ride along and you're hooked.
Yeah, it
That's
was
cool.
quite a shock to the family to start off. Running into burning buildings for a living is a little bit of a culture shock when no one else has done anything like it before. Most of my
Yeah.
family, my dad and all my uncles, or most of my uncles, are sales reps. They're in like equestrian sales. So I definitely took a hard detour from where
Wow. Yeah.
my
From
grandpa and
horses to
everybody else
fires.
went.
Okay.
Yep, pretty
That's
much.
cool, man. I like it. I like it a lot. That's awesome. And you just hit the ground running as soon as you started, dude. It seems like you just like it just became natural and you excelled in it.
Yeah. I I've always been, and my wife and my parents would tell you, like, I don't really tippy toe into something. It's like I'm either 100% into it or like I'm like, yeah, it's not worth my time. So it's definitely a hit the ground running no matter what I get into.
Yeah, I'm the same way. When I get involved in a project, this project that I've now taken on too, it's the same thing. I just hit the ground running and I'm full speed ahead. So we'll talk about training, man. Like, so one of the points we wanted to hit on was you talk about building a strong base, the crawl, walk, run. Why don't you elaborate on that? Like, how did you was that taught to you? Because I preach that a lot. I talk about the crawl, walk, run. It's super important. I learned it from when I started in the fire service because in my family it's the same way. I didn't come from firefighters. My dad was an X-ray tech. My mom was in the public health service. No one in my family ever did any kind of work that I do. So I had to slowly learn how to do this. And sometimes I didn't get the advantage of having the crawl, walk, run with some of the people that were teaching me. So how did you learn that and how did it apply to your life?
So I've heard of crawl, walk, run in the fire service for a long time. I don't think until recently like where I'm at with it, what I've kind of developed in my head of what I like to think of with crawl, walk, run is probably in the last, I'd say 3 or 4 months, I've really started working on. And it comes down to, before I was thinking crawl, walk, run is like, we're going to move really slow are progressively going to get quicker. And I've started breaking it down even more so of we're going to take like for nozzle technique, like I'm going to take the hip grip and I'm going to break it down into parts. So like I did a video recently working with one of the new guys, and it's like all we did was work on the lower half of your body. And so we worked on that moving and flowing, the idea of you're going to come up to your, active kneeling position. We're going to sound the floor, and then we're going to work on that knee drop, shuffle, and reset. And I push that idea of like, we need to have our base set where we don't have to think about it. So in that specific example, like I want for myself and for everyone that I work with, like it should eventually be to a point where it's like walking. We don't have to think about it. We just go, we're going forward and our body naturally does it. Because as we build on the movement, the goal is to eventually get to the point where like in regards to moving and flowing, like I want to be able to move and flow down a hallway and put water on fire and make it where the only thing my brain has to think about is where do I think it needs to get placed and what is my next move. I don't want to have to think anything about the skill that's taking place because there's a lot of things that are going on fire. It's such a dynamic environment.
Sure.
The easiest way to keep ourselves safe is to be able to stay sharp on everything in that moment. So, and there's also, we can't train on, Aaron Fields does a great job. He says like, not every fire is different. A lot of fires progress exactly the same, but it's hard to train on that to become where that's second nature. And every house is a little different. So if we can train on the skills, which is what we can focus on in the bay in a safe environment, and we can get that to where that's a subconscious movement, then that's one less thing I have to worry about on a fire. And then I can be more dynamic as a firefighter because a thinking firefighter is going to be your best firefighter.
Absolutely. Well, you gotta say, the job's a lot more fun when you're good at it, right?
Absolutely.
And that's well, you don't have to think about how to move the hose line because that should be second nature. Then you can think about the bigger picture, where the fire's at, what to listen for, what to feel for, making sure you're listening for crackling, making sure you're listening for victims, checking floors. There's so much more to have to actually understand and not think about how you're going to actually move that hose line. Because a lot of times I've seen in training, and even actually just real life applications, that when people get stressed out, they fall back to some of the most basic movements. And usually that's on all fours, or they double knee it. And instead of thinking about good posture and good mechanics, when they get really stressed and they start freaking out, you see them walking on their knees, or you see this, or search, they forget their tripod position and they start crawling on all fours because they're tired, they're exhausted, and they don't know how to go back to those basic skills. I think it's important when we do our training and we do our reps that when we get stressed, that the posture we go back to is the one that we constantly train on. Instead of falling back on your knees or falling back on all fours, that if I'm tired, I'm going to go to a resting position, I'm going to go to a Camilla lock, or I'm going to go to a clamp, or something that's going to be able to hold that hose so I can gather my thoughts or catch my breath and then advance again on a good technique and a good posture. And like, again, what I see from you is you're doing just that when you're flowing lines in the bay. You guys are putting in a lot of reps from what I can tell. And that's that good muscle memory. That crawl, walk, run method is super important. So you can get the basics then when the basics become advanced.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's
I
great.
think you had a good point too with getting exhausted too. Like if our default is the good forms or the good form no matter what you're doing, whether it's the Camilla or the hip grip, like those techniques are going to cause us to not waste as much energy. Like specifically in the hip grip, like we're using our body weight to fall forward. We're not pushing ourselves forward with large muscles.
Yeah.
And if we don't have that trained, like let's be honest, whatever we default towards, it's a really messy movement. And it smokes us super quick because it's super inefficient.
Yeah.
So having that fallback on good technique is also going to allow us to stay in the fire longer. Let's be honest, nobody wants to leave the fire sooner.
Right. I think it's really important is that I think people, I think in training, we move so fast. And when I teach at the academy, I always make sure to tell the students that I don't want you moving fast with the hose line. Because honestly, that's you're gonna outpace your water. You're gonna outpace where the fire could be. You're gonna miss something. You're gonna miss a room. You could potentially miss victims. Even though we got a hose line, we're still looking for victims. We can still pull a victim to a room of safety and get them out of the building, and we can continue on and flow water and put out the fire. But so much in training, we're pushing the students to move as fast as they can, where they're not going to get those basics in. They're not going to be able to understand, like, okay, I'm getting winded. I can't keep moving. And instead of falling forward, let's go to a resting position, attack the fire in a resting position. You could still flow water, but now you can catch your breath, sit upright. The posture is so important. And I preach that a lot as well, is that if you're crawling on all fours, you're not going to be breathing right. If you're sitting upright, everything is in line. You're going to be able to breathe a lot better, as opposed to being on all fours. Everything's going to be a lot more difficult to catch that breath. So we do an injustice when we're pushing especially the younger or the more inexperienced, when we're trying to make them race with the hose line inside the building and screaming in their ear to put out the fire, but they don't know how to move. And then you see them double walking, and we don't correct it when they're knee walking again on both knees. So it's definitely a learned process, and patience comes in a lot with whether you have a good instructor or a bad instructor, or like you're doing again, is that you're not waiting for anybody to do it with you. You're not needing someone to tell you, hey, you got to go into the bay and practice your technique, and I want you to be able to do good nozzle work. You're doing it on your own, because that that's important when you have an actual fire and you're taxed, inside the building, physically something's going on and you need to stop. I have a good resting position where I can continuously flow water into that area, and I can gather my breath and my thoughts, and then I can push on again. So that's, again, doing those reps in the bay is simple, but then simple again becomes more advanced, and that advanced becomes muscle memory. And that's only the way we're going to get better. And then we can, like you keep preaching that to your guys, which is again, I think is great. And what's caught my interest is that it's not just you flowing and moving. I see you doing it with a bunch of other guys. And who are the guys? Is it all on your shift of the people that you're practicing with, or do you have have you been building like a cadre of people that you're starting to develop?
No, so I, for the first time in my career, have guys that are younger than me. At my first department, I was the newest guy on shift for all 4 years that I was there. We at Columbus right now are in a huge period of turnover. We had a massive boom of hiring and growth back in the 90s, and now all those guys are retiring. So we're hiring, we're sending through 150 dudes a year.
Wow.
So I went from being the new guy to not being the new guy like 10 months onto the street. So pretty much everyone that's been in the video with me so far, outside of a, a few, have less time on the department than I do. And most of them are brand new, like they haven't worked anywhere else.
Wow.
So I've had a really good opportunity of just being like, hey, I'm going to go flow. And most of the new guys are like, yeah, I'll go do that. Because, we know how it is. Like, not everybody is going to go out and do stuff on their own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I feel like when I am like, hey, I'm going to go do this, guys, especially new guys, flock to the opportunity. And so at the academy, we have a 9-month academy. And they teach them both the hip grip and the Kamala lock right now. But it's a fire hose of information for them for 9 months. So I pretty much use any opportunity I get of being like, hey, I haven't worked with you before. Let's go flow some water so we can refresh your nozzle technique.
Yeah.
And so almost every single one of those days will be, we do both. We figure out which one they're more comfortable with. And then I give them some more pointers on that specific technique, so then they can go back and work on it. And I think a lot of the new guys, they look at it and they're like, man, like, I don't know how to get time flowing water. And they'll realize, like, I don't take stuff off the truck. So like anytime you see me flowing water, like I might have backed the truck out of the bay, but I take spare hose off of our rack and hook it to our rear discharge. And then I just hook all of our stations have a tank filling hookup that we can hook an 1.75" to, or like a 3-inch line to. And so I'll hook that up to our tank so it's continuously filling, and then just flow off of our rear disconnect.
That's great.
So if we get a run, I can just snap, I can
Snap.
quickly
Yeah.
disconnect and we can go. And
Yeah.
guys are like, oh, I've never thought about that. Yeah, man. Like, I don't want to take the truck out of service. I don't want to take a line out of service. Like, that's going to piss people off. And I
Yeah.
understand that. But we also need to find ways to train. And I think it also gives that little spark of like, training isn't always necessarily like exactly how you think it's going to be. Like, you have to find unique ways to make it work. So like I did a training, I thought of it driving into work one day, and came in recently, and I was like, "Hey Nick, when was the last time you touched the rip bag?" And he's like, "Academy." I was like, "Cool. We're gonna mess up. We're gonna blind ourselves, and we're just gonna do a bunch of crap with the rip bag.
Yeah.
Like no stress, no pressure, but it's gonna force you to use your gloves and like orient yourself to stuff." And he was like, "This is awesome." I'm like, yeah, man. Like, it doesn't necessarily always have to be like super realistic to get
Yeah.
better at something. Like, so I think on top of like being like, hey, let's go out and train, I also want to show guys like it can be fun. It doesn't have to be like sweating and dying and oh my gosh. And I also try to I put in stuff I sent you, like, I try to keep training short.
Yeah.
So if we can keep it 20 to 30 minutes, like, I've been blessed. I work at busy stations. We have a apprenticeship rotation where we rotate around and bounce different parts around the city. I've been blessed where I've always worked at busy trucks. So it's been necessity that training isn't super long.
Yeah.
But I've had days where guys will come in that want to talk firefighting, and we'll train for 30 minutes, and that turns into like a 4-hour conversation where it's like, oh, here's this. Oh, let's talk about that. And like, if that happened, it's awesome. I could talk firefighting all day, but I know how I am. And let's be honest, this younger generation's exactly like me. I'm part of it. Like, we're the iPhone generation. Like, you lose people's attention quickly.
Yeah.
So let's keep it short. Let's hit our reps. Let's learn. And I'm also big on, if I start seeing somebody get real tired, I'm like, yep, we're done. We're not going to do sloppy reps. I'd rather you take a break and we'll come back to it later and have clean reps as we go through it, especially when they're first starting to figure it out.
Yeah. When you start getting to a point where you're just exhausted, you're not focusing on technique anymore. Now you're not getting those skills. Like, I'm not against, like, you're going to have to train to push past your
100%.
physical barrier, right? Like, I understand what you're going with, like, training at work, you're in the bay, just doing some stuff. And if someone's getting like physically taxed, all right, like, right, we're going to take a break because I don't want to break you for the rest of your shift. I get that. But there's even like when you're at like actual training, like conferences and things like that, and you're doing some hardcore sets, the only thing that person's going to be thinking about is how much this sucks and how much they hate doing this because they're tired or they're wicked hot and they're lost that focus of what everything you're telling them as you're coaching them along as they're moving. They're not listening. It's all noise, right? And it's that stress inoculation that we have to slowly develop so they can hear that better. But if you just constantly like push them without actually training their mind to be able to develop that stress and be able to push past those physical moments, then they're going to be no good for you. And they're just going to continue to zone out, think how much they hate it, and they develop these bad training scars. And I mean, it's just like, when you deal with kids, like, you push them to a point where they're not going to focus, and you can talk to them and keep talking to them. And, as you have little kids, and when they're tired, they're not going to listen. They've completely tuned you out. It's just white noise for them. And that definitely comes with skills and getting those reps in that training, where we eventually can condition our minds and our bodies to not get tired and to develop good skills. And especially, again, when you're in that building, whether you're honestly, it's not just hoses, right? Like, let's be real. Like, we always talk about fires. I talk about it a lot. I talk about flow and moving, and because that's what I love to do. But if I'm cutting somebody out of a car on a hot summer day, and I'm wearing full structured gear, that's probably more exerting than actually doing a structure fire, to be honest with you.
Oh
Because
yeah,
it's usually on a highway, right? And you got the sun beating down on you, and you got black pavement, and you got your heavy extrication tools, and it's just going to be super hot. And then people are going to be yelling at you to do something else and do this, and then you're going to be incredibly exhausted, and you're going to start tuning things out. So it's the same thing. Whether you're doing extrication or whether you're doing hose line, you got to condition your mind and your body, and that you're not going to get that overnight. And if you try to do that to your crew, especially the newer kids who aren't used to it, well, they're not going to want to train with you anymore, and they're just going to be like, nope, I'm all set. Unless you make it mandatory, then again, still they're not going to want to do it either. They're going to do it, but how much are they actually going to put in if you make it mandatory? They'll be like, yeah, okay, I'm going to do it, and then they're going to just give you these half-ass reps until you say, yeah, the clock is 20 minutes now. All right, you can finish whatever else you got to do. So, or they're gonna lie to you too, right? Be like, are you free to do some training? No, I got to do my vector solution training, my my target solutions, right? I got to do my IT training. I got to do my airway training on the computer, and it's gonna take them 5 days to get it done because they don't want to go move hoses with you.
I got my state ethics yearly training I gotta do. I
Yeah, dude,
can't
like.
make it.
Yeah, I need because if they didn't do it, like, oh no, see, it's on my laptop. I gotta get it finished. So I'm sorry, I can't train with you in the bay. And you're absolutely right, dude. You got to make it fun. You got to make it entertaining, and and then when you make it fun, and we're all alpha personalities, so if you do also, you do challenges on it too, it's gonna make it fun. It's a game. So if you kind of put in whatever kind of challenge you want to, and then you can like get other groups or other battalions in on it, and then now it's a challenge, and people are going to want to get in there and do it, whether it's lifting weights, running, moving hose, whatever it is. But battalion 2, we worked out this long and did burn this many calories, who can beat me, something like that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a great mentality to have, to know that you can't tax your members like right off the bat, because they're just not going to get those skills, or it's not going to absorb. So that's spot on, man.
You gotta build that strong base before you move on.
Yeah, absolutely. The foundation is key. And sometimes, like, again, we do, I think people do forget that we got to build a foundation. You can't build a house without it. It's just going to fall apart. And a good foundation is going to help those to build great firefighters, and they're going to learn how to be bricklayers themselves, and they're going to help build that foundation to the next generation. So
Absolutely.
you bring up here, it's a marathon, not a sprint. So what are you talking about on that one?
So, part of that goes back to what we were just talking about, like short trainings, like keeping things 20, 30 minutes. Like, I don't want trainings to get to a point where guys are like, God, why are we still out here? You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Because that's how you lose people. Because if you have too many of those, the guy's like, no, I'm not going to go back out there with him. Like, he can do that on his own, whatever. But then also part of it comes down to it's a 30 plus year career for a lot of guys. Like, it's very easy to get gung ho and just slam yourself into a wall over and over again, every shift, every day
Yeah.
for the first year or two. And then you're going, I'm exhausted. You're just burned out.
Yeah.
And like, I am super passionate about this job, and I think about outside of work. I listen to podcasts constantly. I read about it outside of work. And then when I'm at work, like, I'm that guy sitting at the kitchen table reading Fire Book. And
Yeah.
guys are like, will you just come watch TV? It's like, yeah, sometimes, but like, it's encapsulated my life. And you have to be understanding that like, not everyone is that way. And that's
Yeah.
okay. A great fire department is made by that 80% that they want to show up, they want to be good at their job. But when they clock out in the next morning, like, they're going to go home to their family, and they might have a side job, and they might have other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so those guys that show up and they want to be good, but it's not like something that defines them necessarily, I still want to make it where they're looking forward to training, and they're like, yeah, I can do that, because I know not everybody is like me. Most people aren't like me or like you or like anyone else on any of these podcasts. Like,
It's a tough one, man. And that's funny. My wife has said before, I think I had worked a 48, and I came home and I was watching more fire videos. I was watching just something of how to do something, looking at tips and tricks. And I'm always watching, I'm always learning. My wife said to me, you just worked 48 hours at the firehouse and you're watching fire videos. Do you think you could watch something else? I was like, you're right. Like, I gotta turn my brain off. And doing this is it's fun. This is my hobby. It keeps me at home. To be honest with you, like I'm at home doing this, and I'm in my office, but it's keeping me home. It's keeping me based. It's an hour out of my day, so I'm here hanging out with my family still. But you're absolutely right. Like, you've got to find a good balance. And people talk about a lot now. When I was younger, I actually started late in the fire service. I started in my 30s, and I hit the ground running. As soon as I started it, I just loved it, and that's all I ever wanted to do. And I completely immersed myself into the fire service. And I had talked about it when I was at Bears of the Oath, and I was talking to a painter, and he's an amazing human, and we were discussing about family and life, and I almost bragged about it when I was younger about it. So there was a fire that I had in my town, and it came in, and it was on my daughter's birthday. I have twins, and fire came in, and we had pagers. I was full time at that time, but I could still go to calls. So the phone, the pagers, they all go off. We're literally out the door, like we're gonna go walk to the car. Tones go off, and I turn to my wife. I'm like, I gotta go to this. And my wife was like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, we're going to dinner for the girl's birthday. And I was like, babe, it's a fire. Like, she should understand that. Like, that's all I said was, babe, it's a fire. Like, like it's nothing else, no big deal. And I said, it's probably nothing. I'll meet you at the restaurant. Now, the restaurant's directly across from the firehouse. So even if I didn't go, I wouldn't be able to actually pay attention at dinner, because I would have been watching all the guys showing up in their POVs, getting to the station, getting in the trucks, and going. And so I raced to the station, and I made one of the first two pieces, and I didn't get home till midnight, because it actually turned out to be a good structure fire. And I missed the whole birthday. And I remember going back to the station after the call, and I told the chief and a couple of people, I'm like, I just missed my kid's birthday for this. And there wasn't, I'm sorry. There wasn't like, oh man, I'm so sorry. Thank you for your sacrifice. It was like, okay, like I made that choice to miss that. We talk about sacrifice, and that was one of those my family sacrificed, for me to go there. And I never really thought much about it, but I was at Bears of the Oath, and I was talking to Mr. Painter, Captain Painter, and we're talking about sacrifice, we're talking about family. And I brought that story up, and I realized, like, it's not funny. I realized, like, it wasn't something that I should be proud of. Like, yeah, I helped put a fire out, and that's to be commendable. And then at the same time, I was looking for validation from the chief and from other people to say, oh, thank you, Mike, and pat me on the back for sacrificing family time to do this. But they didn't care, because they did the same thing. They sacrificed their family time. And as I was talking to the captain, I realized, like, I'm an asshole. Like, we can't, I just missed that important time in my kid's life. And I think they were 13 at the time. And I know they understand now, because it's my life and it's my world, but they're my life and they're my world. And if anybody's listening, it's really important for them, I think, for a lot of people to understand that balance of family. And we've said, and it's become more apparent. People have said it more often now, of the fire service is going to be here. When we leave, we walk out that door. When we retire or resign for whatever reason, the bay doors will continue to open. The trucks will pull out onto that apron and go to the next call. Literally, when you walk out that door and your party is over at the department, there's going to be a call, and they're going to leave. It's not going to say, hey, we can't go because Alex walked out that door. Like, how are we going to do this? No, it's going to continue to roll, because that's what we train people to do. And then I when I was standing there with Captain Painter at Bears, I got emotional. It actually hit me real, really hard. And I started getting some tears, because I realized how I missed something so important for a department that really didn't appreciate me. And that also I sacrificed a special time with my family to do this. And we all talk about sacrifice, but at the same time, you also have to know when not to sacrifice. And I'm going to be real, like that fire, I wanted to go to the fire because it's a fire. I mean, that's what we signed up for. That's when I turned to my wife and go, well, babe, it's a fire. It wasn't like, I didn't say somebody needs help. And that was the biggest thing, right? I was being selfish. It wasn't, somebody needs help. Their house is on fire. I didn't say that. I said, it's a fire. Like, I'm going to go have fun. I need to go have fun because I'm going to go with the boys. I'm going to go ride in that truck and go Mach 10 and pin the queue and pull hose and put water on the fire. And it's going to be something to talk about for years down the road. But I'm not going to be able to talk about that birthday party years down the road because I wasn't there, because I was being selfish, because I wanted to go to a fire. And again, it wasn't to help someone. I'll be straight up and honest. I'm going to put my heart right out to everybody in this world right now, is that Mike Goldstein was selfish. I wanted to go to a fire. I'd never thought about the people in need. It was because I wanted to go be a firefighter. And I sacrificed my family time to do that. So that's my big soapbox, is that, to be transparent, like, we talk about it, but you got to also do it. And I've learned through those lessons in life that I can't just be Mr. Firefighter all the time. You're going to miss these special times in your kid's life. And now that you have young kids, that's that balance. We talk about being 100% in, but you can't be. You really can't. You can be 100% on the job. Like when you clock in for the day, yeah, man, be tuned in, be dialed in, be good at your job, be ready. But when it comes to your life outside those brick walls, it's your family. And you got to pay attention to your kids, and you got to pay attention to your wife and your health. Because, again, when you leave, that's the hardest part, man, is what are you going to do? Those doors close, and you walk out of that station forever. Who are you going to have? Your family. And if you mistreated them and ignored them, well, you're going to be screwed, because they lived their lives while you were being 100% in all the time, 365 days a week. So sorry, I went on a tangent there, but
No, man.
you really hit it for me. And I want to make sure, like, we talk about the younger people. You put this in here, like reading your notes, and like, you gotta be able to focus on a lot more than just being good at the job, but you gotta be a good family man too.
Yeah, man. You're preaching. I mean, you're preaching the good word. I've been blessed in a lot of ways. I have the most incredible wife in the world. I have the most incredible family in the world. And I've told people, like, I love this job. This job gives me so much purpose, but I would quit it in a heartbeat if I had to for them. Like, there's nothing worse in my mind than losing any of them. And so, like, you've seen it. Like, there's so many guys in the fire service who are either divorced, or you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm married, and like, oh, stuck with that one. It's like, dude, like, getting married and having kids has been the happiest thing that's ever happened to me. It gives me more joy in this life than I will ever be able to get out to anybody. And so I know 60. When I turn 60, whether I like it or not, I'm done.
Yeah.
Like, this fire service, I'm no longer part of it. If God has it, like, hopefully I can still teach. I'd love to be that salty old dude that still gets to go and teach.
That's
But
my
like,
goal too.
I'm not going to be on a truck anymore at that point. And so I got to come home. And do I want to come home to an empty house? Or do I want to come home to a house with a loving wife where grandbabies come over all the time? And I have to make that decision now. And I think I brought him up last time, Jared Drenick, when he asked me to be a training coordinator, the first thing he said, I was like, yeah, I can do that. He goes, no. Go home, talk to Allison, and make sure this is something you're wanting to do. Because it's a time commitment, and it has been.
Yeah.
But it was one of those, he regularly pushes me and is like, hey, how's the family doing? Make sure your family's good. Like, he regularly is like, this job is important. What we do is important. But your family has to take priority number one.
Yes,
and
sir.
so it's just one of those things, like, talk to new guys. Like, when new guys tell me, or younger guys tell me, like, their wife's pregnant for the first time, Like I'm as giddy for them as when I found out my wife was pregnant the first time, because I'm like, man, your world is about to get infinitely better.
Yeah.
Don't forget that. It's
Yeah.
easy after the initial wave of like, this is incredible, to go back into life and be like, man, I want to do that. I want to do this. And I'm just as guilty as it of it. Like I get online and I see what you're going to, and I see, where Corley is, and Raymond and Dorval. Like he's one I love following, like those guys. And I'm like, I see them all over.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, I would love to go to a conference every month and travel the country and learn from these guys and like, get to know them, and just gather all this information selfishly for myself and selfishly to
Sure.
like, I have a passion for teaching. So like, I'm like, I want to get in information as much as I can to get to a point where I can start giving it back out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's somewhere I can take the fire service and help and make a mark and making it better. But like, I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and when they wake up in the morning, my 3-year-old's a little grouchy, but my 1-year-old, it's like the greatest time in the world when she sees me in the morning. And my 3-year-old, after she wakes up, it's, I want to be with dad. I want to play with dad. I want to hang out with
Yeah.
dad. Like, I'm not going to sacrifice that time with them. That there will be a time when they're older
Yeah.
and they're going to be like, ugh, I just want to be with my friends. Dad, you're boring. Leave me alone. Like, and I can go do stuff.
It
Yeah,
happens
I'll
fast.
have more time to go out.
That happens fast too. Just so you know, like my kids are 15 now. They don't want to be around me
Yeah,
because they got their friends, they got boyfriends, they got a lot more stuff they got to do. So hanging out with dad is low on the priority list because they're constantly going. I mean, my kids got softball and band, and again now they got friends and boyfriends, and I'm just like, I keep saying, I'm an Uber, I'm a DoorDash, and I'm an ATM.
yep,
Like those are the
yep.
three things. And other than that, like, I mean, that's just life. But so that goes by fast. And if you sacrifice your family life for those kind of moments, you're not going to get them back. And before you know it, they're close to driving. So yeah, enjoy those times, dude, because they do go by fast.
I'm trying, man.
So talking about keeping the oath, finding your why. And you said we touched on that. You said your why is your family. Um, Is there more on that? Like, how did you find your why? How'd you come up with that?
So my why, and when I talk to like new guys, or just like when it comes up in conversation, like it's easy to say my why is my family. Like, why do I go to work? Why do I want to come home? Well, I want to come home for my family. But for me, it goes deeper than that. And I try to impress this on people when they think about it, because how I explain it is, if I'm at work and my house catches on fire and my whole family's inside, I pray to God that every firefighter showing up, every chief that's going to be commanding that scene, I hope they are physically fit. I hope they are practiced up on their skills and they're just all stars. And I hope they are tactically sound to give my family the greatest chance of surviving. And I would be an absolute hypocrite if I didn't say that was the same standard that I hold for myself.
Sure.
Because every fire we go on, it's somebody's family.
Yep.
Someone has that same thought. I can't remember who it is. I saw it again from a speech from Bears of the Oath, so you might know. But the quote is basically like, when parents put their kids to bed in your district, you become
Mm,
their keepers.
yeah.
And that quote really hit home for me as someone with little kids. Like, it really hits me in the pit of my heart. And that's really what drives me, is like,
I think it was Sanders.
and that's
Sanders said
probably,
that.
yeah. And so it's like that specifically is my why.
Yeah.
I want to give everything I can to be as good as I possibly can at this job, to give all those kids a chance of living, because that's the exact same standard I'd hold to whoever shows up to my house being on fire too.
Yeah. 100%, man. That nailed it. I think I can't remember what someone said it where there's been all these mixed reviews like, no, I don't want to pretend that's going to be my life, my wife or my kids, because then that's going to put me in the wrong mindset. But, I do it all the time when I'm on especially it's hard to say, but like especially like medical calls. Like I went to a motor vehicle accident, and it was a simple fender bender, but the girls that were driving in the one car, they just got their driver's license. They just turned 16, and I looked at their date of birth. It was close to my girls. And I just immediately thought of my girls. I'm like, oh man, they're gonna be driving in just a few short months, and that could be them. And we wouldn't be good parents or husbands or spouses if we didn't have that mindset of, I don't want that to happen to my family, and I'm going to be that protector for other families because that's what I signed up to do. That's our job. Our oath is to protect others, and I expect other people to protect my family when I'm at work, and that's again what they signed up to do. So yeah, you do have to have that mentality of, if it's my family there, I want you to do it. Or if I'm going to that call, I'm going to think it's my family, and I'm going to give it my all, because we should do it regardless of who it is, race, color, sex, creed, all that good stuff, man. So
Absolutely.
yeah, when, there's that quote, who do you want showing up at your house? I want the hard chargers. I want the most fit, badass motherfuckers to put out my fire, to save my family, to save my property, and to do the job. Because I'll be pissed off if I see them standing around and unable to put out the fire because they got winded, or they didn't know how to throw a ladder, or they didn't know how to pump a truck, or how to set up a scene. Yeah, where I'm going to be friggin' pissed. I'm going to let them know too. That's because we expect, we are giving our all, and we're putting in the effort, and we're making sure we're fit, ready to serve other people, and we expect others to do the same thing in our community. So
100%.
yeah, absolutely, dude. So you said nozzle forward reignited the passion and focus for you. So that really was a big driving force for you, was taking the nozzle forward. That was like a big, because I wish I had taken that class. I'm still hoping, like I said, one day to take that. For me, your nozzle, so my dadgum classes was your nozzle forward.
Okay.
And it's funny that we have that, because man, I feel like a broken record every time I'm on a podcast. I'm always talking about dadgum, because
Yeah.
that was really my big inspiration. Is that I learned so much from them, and it wasn't just one person. It was the whole group of them, and they taught me so much about some new skill sets, and I couldn't wait to go back and show it to everybody else. Like, I felt like a giddy kid, like, look at everything I learned, like, this is so cool. And there's some stuff I already knew, but it was just a better way to do it, and how they delivered it. Same thing with Aaron Fields. Like, he's so good at breaking things down and then building back up again. Those situations, when I go to conferences, yeah, it might be shit I already know, but I now go to see how they deliver the content, and how these instructors are able to deliver the information to like 15 people and break it down in the most simplest terms, and then build it back up again. That's a great instructor, to be able to take such information. And that was a lot what I got out of when I seen Aaron Fields teaching his nozzle forward. He's so good at breaking it all down, getting back to just the bare bones, and just telling you the why, and not it has to be this way, but this is why I do it this way. And the same thing with the dadgum cadre. It was the same thing. And same thing with Rob Ramirez and Basil Ibrahim and Raymond Dorville. Like, they're all so great at breaking down the information so we can get it in the most simplest terms, and then they build it back up again. And it was and that's right, and that's how it should be, because you're really going to retain that information, because the step-by-step process. And again, that was what really was ignited my passion when I went down there, just like how Nozzle Forward did it for you. Is one of my biggest moments. I love the way they do it, is when they do the dadgum push, they make you drop the nozzles, they make you drop the hose, and we all line up on a line. We're on our knees, and we're going to do a hip walk. And usually it's Tom Hollick doing it, but he lines everybody up all on the same line, and he wants you just to move on your knees to get that basic skill. And we do it all together at the same time. And he wants to make sure that everybody can understand the mechanics of moving your body that way before you even have a charged hose line in your hand. And it's just literally moving like you do, like in your videos. I watch you, you're moving your body. There's nothing in your hand, but you're making the actual movements that you have a hose line. We're doing the same thing. We got our pretend hose in our hand, and we're just sliding on the ground, making sure we actually have the body mechanics before we actually apply the harder material. And that was so inspirational to me, to see how they can deliver that information. And I I brought all that back. I mean, I was always writing notes, and like I'd go back to my hotel room, same thing. But I sound like that broken record because that was what really ignited my passion to teach better, to be able to listen better, and take those skills back and be able to give that knowledge back to a lot of other people. So like I want to take nozzle forward. I'm hoping it comes up to New Hampshire where I could find another place that's doing it closer to home. But I love that you said that here, that nozzle forward really ignited your passion, because that's pretty inspirational.
Yeah, first off, I've heard you talk about Fluger and Dagum in the episodes I have listened to. It's definitely got me like, I need to hear him. Like, I need to go experience that in person. But Nozzle Forward, I think it was a combination of Aaron Fields is so good at
Yeah.
talking. Like, and he brings it up in his presentation during the first part of the day. Like, he's huge on languages and on just the communication between people, and it's obvious. He is an expert at using language to convey the information and convey the feelings and the ideas that he has, which was awesome. But then it was also it was my first big class, to be honest. Like, up until that point, I'd done some Fools trainings, which were just like hosted by Fools guys. And that's
Yeah.
like the training, they're super valuable, but it didn't have that like star value as like bringing Nozzle forward in. You know what I mean? So I think the combination of the two of Aaron just being who Aaron is and his guys are just so enjoyable to be around, the same way it sounds like Kevin and all of his guys are.
Yeah.
And then just the fact that it was like this big star power class of like, wow, like this is really cool. And learning from elsewhere around the world. I mean, I don't think there's anything like it, like going to a class from my now one experience. But it was like, it was super cool of guys be introducing themselves. And it's like, they're from all over the country.
Yeah.
It's like, these guys are absolute badasses. Like, if you get asked to come and teach and travel the country with a bunch of other dudes from random parts of the country, like, you gotta be a badass in my head.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You have to
And
be, well, you have to, to be invited to do those things. It's not just a one-time deal, right? You didn't just take the class one time and went, okay, you're now going to be invited. Like, you have to put in that, and that where some of that sacrifice does come in. Like, if you go into a lot of these trainings, they're going to remember you and they're going to see you, and they'll be like, well, that dude really likes to do this stuff, and they're going to see your skills improve. And then they're going to probably start singling you out, go, hey, show them how to do this, or I need you to help me with this. And that's when you start gaining their trust, and they start believing in your skills, because we're all going to be students no matter what. But if you're continuously going to whatever classes they're presenting and you're still engaged and not goofing off, well, they're gonna buy into you as much as you're buying into them. Right. And then, like, again, I took dadgum now, like, for the push, like 3 times, and I'll keep going and doing it because I don't get enough of that at work, and it's not my work's fault. We're just like we're super busy, and I thoroughly enjoy working with them and training with them. It's fun. They make it fun. Aaron Fields makes it fun. Man, when I went to, again, the daggum Rick class, I got to listen to Rob Ramirez do his Mayday mindset, his lecture, and it was so full of passion and energy. I couldn't wait to learn from him the next day. And then we did our rotating around in our hot classes, and it was so exciting. Like, same thing. He broke it down to the most simplest terms, to really make sure that everyone understood what is expected, what he wants from us. He'd never made anybody feel like shit. No one ever felt stupid or intimidated. But he had his group of guys that he was with, and they were all top-notch people. And everyone brought, like, all these guys have their own little groups, but in their groups, they're all super nice. Like, it was, like you said, it's kind of intimidating. They're all badasses because they're all traveling around doing all these amazing things that we all want to do, but they earned their spot. It wasn't just like, hey, I want to go travel with you. Like, this is their business. Like, Rob Ramirez, his Mayday mindset, that's his business. And if he has shitty instructors or treating other people like shit, well, no one's going to want to hire him to do lectures or to do his hands-on stuff. So he's got to have the best of the best. And there was a moment that Rob and we actually had a great bonding moment. We had never met before until I went to Dagum. And there's actually a picture of Rob and I in the Book of Search. And he's got his arm around me. We're doing the Denver drill. And I actually had screwed up. I misunderstood what he was telling me. And I was going to do it the old way that I do it. But he wanted me to do it my old way. I thought he wanted me to do it his way. And so I completely misunderstood, and he stopped me. But instead of being like, getting all pissed off and angry or pushing me aside, he just like put his arm around me. He's like, "No, bro, I wanted you to do it this way, but I totally get why you did that. So continue with what you're doing, and then we're going to talk about that, and then we'll get this done." It was awesome. And it just made me realize, like, wow, this is a super chill guy. He knows what he's doing, but he knows how to treat all of us with respect, because we're not schmucks that are coming to these conferences. Like for the most part, like we're going because we want to better our skills and better our knowledge. So we have a base already. We talk about foundations. We've already laid the foundation down from our previous departments. Now we're just adding more to it. So a lot of these guys know that we're not idiots, but they want to help us to be better so we can bring the stuff back. And a lot of them will say that, like, we just want you to be better so you can bring it back. Like, you guys know this stuff. We're just bringing you a little bit of more extra knowledge so you can build your department up. And that moment with Rob and I was a really great bonding moment, because we both had that like little heart to heart of, we both know that we have this knowledge. We both know how to do these skills, and we're going to make each other better. And it was really cool. When he told me I was in that book, I was like, wow, it's a complete honor, man. Like we still, and then when you start going, so like I go to a lot of these conferences and we become friends. We see each other now, we talk, we text, and you will start to develop that. They'll start to know who you are when you go to more of the conferences. But like we said, it does come at a price, because you're going to have to be away from home. You're going to have to travel. You're going to have to see these guys. They're not going to come unless you're paying them to come every year to your town, because they got to make money. That's the part of it. Like everything comes at a cost, and these guys need to feed their families, and they're giving you good content. So it's going to cost some money, but I love doing it, dude. And again, I talked about it before. It's also networking and developing family and friends. All those guys are my family. They're really good friends, and it's an honor to have them I talked about it earlier, in my posse. Just like talking to you, you're now in my posse, right? Like, as we start doing these things and we start learning and growing, we develop that posse. Like I said, that circle continues to grow. That posse ring continues to develop with a lot more people in it. And it's a pleasure to be able to talk with you and to be able to learn more from you, and hear about all your experiences and skills.
Absolutely, brother. I think it's one of the things I've been lucky with building that connection is, like, with not being able to travel right now, Jared, our president, he taught on the circuit for a while, and he has a lot of those connections. So it's been one of those things where I'm like I was like, hey, like, I need to reach out to Chris Kessinger, who runs Citizens First. I was like, you guys number? He's like, yep. Sends it. I'm like, hey, I want to maybe have Brothers in Battle help teach us truck class. He's like, here's Tony Trash Trail's number. Like, it's just like, it's like, even though I haven't been able to get around, like, I've had really good opportunities to build those connections through the training coordinator position. So I can kind of stay home, but still start building them, which has been it's been really cool for me. It's kind of helped with that I can't travel thing.
You're absolutely right. And I love it, because you can still get those connections. You don't have to travel far. And honestly, they all say it too. Like, they're all transparent. They're all there. Mm-hmm. If you need information, if you need help with something, you literally just have to reach out. They're all on social media. They're there because they want to help. And if you can't go to a conference, or you can't go to whatever training, because not everybody can afford it, right? Or, it's just, they don't have the time. They're there. They say it all the time, and they put out their phone numbers and emails. Like, it's right there. That's what's so cool, because it is the fire family. It's about giving back and being there for each other. And if someone has a question about how you do this training, it's not, we talk about hoarding knowledge, right? Like, they're not going to not give it to you. I remember going to Pensacola for County Fire Tactics, and um, the amazing presenters there, John Norman and Brian Brush and um, got a Champo and all these guys. And they literally like, if you need any of my slides, just email me. I'll give you my slides.
Yeah.
You know, I want you to bring this back. Usually it's just, if you're going to present it somewhere, you got to make sure you're giving credit where credit is due. The information's here. He's like, half the time they've got it from somebody else. So here you go. Here's the information. And that's what's so cool. Like, you can literally reach out to these people and they're going to help. It might be a couple of days till you get back to you, but it's so cool. Like Andrew Starnes, another guy, dude, like he will give you all the information. And what's cool is he makes it so available with his YouTubes and Instagram. He makes it incredibly available for anybody. And all you have to do is message him, and he'll literally come right back at you with a text of information or where to find that information, because he wants everyone to have it. And that's what's so cool. These guys are traveling all over the place and they've gained so much knowledge. But like Andrew Starnes is such a humble dude. And if you need that information, all you got to do is message him on Facebook. And he'll come right back and go, here you go. Like he just, boom. It's like literally 30 seconds. I texted him with a question about a camera, and he just shot the two things of information back within 30 seconds. So it's available to everybody. And that's what's so cool. You don't have to be up close and personal. If you're in the job and you need information, they're going to give it. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like
I'll
having this
second that thing.
virtual library.
Absolutely. I'll second that thing on Chief Starnes. Like, I recently have been talking to you about maybe coming teach in class, and we weren't able to work it out. But like, one of his cadre members worked in the department that is like next door to where I work in Columbus.
Gotcha.
And so he brought me in and he got me his contact info. And I talked to him on the phone, and then I shot him an email a couple weeks later with some questions. And he literally was like, "Hey, I'm in Germany. I'll get back to you when I can." That evening, he called me from halfway across the world.
Wow.
It was like, "Hey, what's up?" I'm like, "This is ridiculous. Like, you could have waited till you come home." He's like, "Oh man, I'll talk."
Yeah.
So it's been incredible to learn how open the people in the like training circuit that are out teaching are. And we have some great, I mean, incredible people working for Columbus that either have done it or do it. You know what I mean? We have Steve Robertson, who's teaching his mid-rise mayhem class with Kyle Romagus and all those guys. And so like I've been emailing him about some things and talking to him. And then Lieutenant Billy Ross, who's at twos, he taught the circuit and taught around, and he's slowing down. He's about to retire, but like, I sat down, I've gotten a chance to work with him for 12 hours one day, and I was like, I'm going to ask him a ton of questions. We sat down in the kitchen, and he didn't let me get a single question out because he's like, "Tell me about your page. What are you working on? What's this? What's that?" I was like, "Dude, this is crazy." You have to have the right heart to get out and want to teach. And it shows so much. Like, the guys out there that are teaching, they want to see the fire service get better, and they will do it however they can. And it's so obvious when you interact with them.
Yep. 100%, man. Yeah, you could definitely see the passionate instructors. The guys are out there. It's not just, it's not about whatever they're putting in their bank accounts. It's about what they're putting out. And you nailed it, dude. It's like the way the people just come right back at you and want to help you. It's super cool. Or want to know about you. Like you're sitting down and he's asking you 1,000 questions about yourself. That's awesome. It's something to be that you don't get that very often, and it's a super humble experience to be able to sit down and talk with them. Like, you get a little giddy and you want to ask the right questions, and because I'm sure that there's 50 other people that are standing in line wanting to talk to them, and they're asking you questions about your life. So I love it, dude. So we talked a lot about a lot of things, man. Why does because I know, especially with you, because you do a lot with the hose work again. What got you interested in that? Is it just nozzle forward, or did you have already a passion for engine work before that?
So at my last department, I mainly worked on equipment, and I was really lucky. And that crew was like, we're going to be really good at both. We're going to be really good on the engine side, and we're going to be really good on the truck side. And so I got exposed to both sides. And when I got to Columbus, I was like, I need to pick what I want to do, because we don't run quints. Like, we have platforms or towers, some people call them, and then we have wheat tillers. None of them have tanks on them. Like they're true ladder trucks. And then we have our engine companies. And I just kind of looked at it, I was like, passionate about engine work. The engines, in all fairness, are busier too. Like I love like searching, and the stuff the truck does is cool, but they just don't run as much because our engines chase the medics, our engines go on the fire service runs and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, man, I'll get stir crazy, like in the station, like taking a couple runs a day. So like, I think it was partially towards I want to be busier, and then partially towards I'm just drawn towards nozzle work. I think
Yeah.
I think it's the best job in the fire service. Like Chief Corley Moore always asks, like, if you have to be on the nozzle or doing a VES, like, give me that nozzle all day, every day. I'm going to take it. But I tell anytime I have a guy who's, whether we just decide he's on the nozzle for the day and I'm going to be the backup, because we'll run 4 on a lot of the trucks I run on.
Oh, that's nice.
So if I'm the backup, like, I'll tell them, like, I'm going to get you to the fire, but once you're to the fire, I'm going to search. Like, so just expect me to start bebopping off into close rooms. And so when I talk to guys about Backstep, like the whole idea behind Project Backstep, the page started off as a handbook I started working on. Basically, like general basics of structural firefighting as a Backstep firefighter. Because we have a journeyman engine operations handbook with Columbus, and it's awesome. It teaches a ton of great stuff, but it mainly covers the more advanced side of engine operations. So it covers pump ops and that kind of stuff. Because the idea is when you get through the academy, you've been taught how to hold a hand line and how to advance a hose.
Sure.
And so I feel like there's a lot of times where it's like guys will be like, man, I learned so much, like I forget this. And so that's where it started. It's like I love more than just nozzles and hose. Like I love search and I love forcible entry. And those are the 3 points I tell guys. Like this is, you need to be experts on all 3 if you want to be a very good backstep firefighter.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then on top of that, like if I want to promote one day and be a lieutenant, we go to a lieutenant. We don't go to captain. So we have a lieutenant and then we have a house captain.
Gotcha.
So if I want to go to lieutenant on an engine one day, I want to be able to say I knew the job of Backstep like intimately well, every aspect of it, because I want to be able to teach my guys to be that good when I get to that point.
Nice.
So that's another driving force behind it is like I tell guys like I don't want to get promoted and it be like, yeah, he's an officer, but like I want to be one. I want to be, yeah, Alex was a really good firefighter. And then now he's an officer and he wants to make more really good firefighters.
Yeah. Hey, dude, that's great right there, dude. Like that's it. I think every officer should be wanting to make better firefighters.
Yeah.
So that way they become great officers. You know, that's a great job of succession is that we should be always planning for people to take our positions. Because like I said earlier, like the doors are, when you walk out, the doors are still going to open and the trucks are still going to go out. And when you walk out that door, are you going to feel like you've done enough? And we talk about leaving it better than we found it, but are you going to be proud of what you left behind? That person who's driving the truck, the person who's in the officer's seat, are they going to remember you as giving as much information and knowledge and experience to them? Or are you walking out the door going, man, I feel sorry for the citizens of this department that's on, because it's going to be they don't know what they're doing, and man, God help them. You know, that you have the ability to affect that. And we all should, as we're getting older and more experienced, we should be developing better firefighters, and we should then be developing better officers. And because again, when I walk out that door, I want to look back and go, man, that's a damn good crew right there. And that you can feel proud that you had a hand in that development. Just like we have a hand in developing people at our academy when we're teaching, it's the same thing on our station. You know, to turn around and at the end of your day, when your time comes and you retire, to turn around and go, yeah, I trained that crew. That's a damn good crew right there. And I know that they're going to have the ability to train their replacements, because we're training our replacements. At the end of the day, that's what's happening. as we get older, we're going to start learning how this department works, and we're going to start learning how the job works. And then it's our job to turn around and show the young kids how the department works and how calls work. And just that cycle keeps on going, man. And that's you nailed it. And we have to continuously do that. That's how the department keeps living, is we have great firefighters that train other great firefighters and officers and so on.
100%.
Love it.
100%.
Well, man, Alex, I really appreciate you being on the show. Did we cover everything you wanted to? Like, if you got anything else for me? You
no,
good?
I think we hit everything for now.
I'm
sure
so
we can come
too.
up for something in the future at some point.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah, I
been an
definitely
absolute
got to
honor
have
to
you
let
on.
me on here.
Yeah, man, it's my pleasure, man. And I definitely got to have you on again. There's a lot of repeat customers I need. There's just so much to talk about. There's so much information, and I'm sure, like, if we were sitting right here having a glass of whiskey, we could talk for 2 more hours. I guarantee if we started talking about hoses and nozzles, man, we'd probably, the show would go on for another 5 hours. And
Absolutely.
so it's been a pleasure, dude. I really do. Thank you so much for being on the show and agreeing to be on here. You keep doing what you're doing. We talked about earlier when we were talking through texts. There's gonna be a lot of haters out there, right? And I noticed on your page there's people that shit on some of the stuff that you're doing, just like there's some people shit on the things that I'm doing and what other people are doing. Whether you're not wearing the right gear, or you're not moving the right way, or everyone's got their opinions behind the keyboard. But you do a great job with putting out some really good information on your videos, and your techniques are really solid. And again, I see some of those comments that people put on there, but the way you stay so humble and chill about it, it's not easy. Again, we're putting ourselves out there, man. Whether we're doing stuff at our station or we're doing podcasts, like, you're putting yourself out there for everybody to criticize what you're doing. And you do a great job with not buying into that, with not biting back at the haters or the naysayers and the people crapping on whatever you're presenting. And that's something to be commended, because again, it is not easy, because everybody, you just want to type something back because it's just something that they really just, burns you up. But man, you're doing a great job with putting out some really good content. And the fact that you're not engaging with a lot of those people is pretty cool. How do you actually, quick question for you, is how do you manage to do that? Because it's not, like I said, it's not easy. How do you manage to turn that off in your mind? Because there's times when I got it ready in my hand and I'm ready to bite back at somebody and go, you know what? Not worth it. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Somebody told me years ago was, if it feels good doing it, it probably isn't good.
Probably. That's a really good advice. I've never heard that, but that's great advice.
Yeah.
I honestly had a video. Man, it sounds arrogant when I say it, but the first video that went like viral was like probably a month and a half ago. It was something I posted, I don't know, like a month or two prior, and it just like took off. I don't know why. It was something about the Camelo lock, and it was like showing my steps of how I was like working through it. And I'm literally watching these views take off, and people are starting to comment. And for like, I'd say for like 30 seconds, I read comments and started getting really hot. And I self-admit I will get angry very fast. And I immediately told myself, like, you can't post stuff on the internet and let what people say on it get to you.
Yeah.
Because if we know anything as my generation, as like the internet generation, like, people are going to say whatever heinous thing they want to you because they know there's no ramifications for it.
Right. They're not going to get punched in the face.
Yeah. And so, like, very rarely do I respond to comments. They're like negative comments. If there's a positive comment, I try to respond to everything. But if there's a negative comment, there's very, very few times. And I shouldn't when I do. But it's just one of those things, like, I have. I'm not going to lie. Like, there's been a couple.
I've done it too.
We're not going to name departments. But I had a handful of guys that I looked up. It was like the same, like, couple guys from the same department. And they're a busy department. But all of them made the same, like, yeah, if I wasn't fighting fires, this is what I would do too. And I was like,
gotcha.
All right. And I like did the Google search, and I was like, you should do some research. we fight more fire than you. Like, you're just the apartment, but like, you should at least do some research before you comment. And they all deleted their comments. And I was
Oh, that's funny. Yeah.
like, and I'll
Yeah.
fight with some, like, my family's super, I grew up in a family that's like quick witted. Like, Christmas get togethers were just people ripping on each other all the time. And we love each other to death. I have an extremely close extended family, but I got raised in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, I have a little bit of that in me, and I have no problem responding with some, like, witty, like, hey, brother, like, praying for you. Like, it's kind of not a good thing to say. I hope you're doing well. And people really don't like that. If you kill them with kindness, they really don't, or get uncomfortable. Honestly, when it comes to the haters online, like, people are going to say stuff that you don't like.
Yeah.
Like you said, if you put yourself out there, people are going to disagree with you. And that's okay. That's okay. You just have to know that you're trying to do the right thing. And if I get 50 hateful comments on there, but one person reached out and like, hey man, like, this is awesome. I'm going to try this. In my book, it was worth it. I don't care, because that's what it's there for. Because all the people ripping on me or saying whatever because of they disagree with what I do, they're not out there trying to make it better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's, I always go with the same motto, dude, is like, if one person got something out of this, that's a win for me. Anybody else can crap all over it. But if I'm reaching out to that one person and they message me and go, I really enjoyed what you had to say, or that information you gave me helped me so much. Cool. It makes it all worthwhile. That's money well spent, and everybody else can piss off. It's, it's that we're here to help other people. And again, it's the same thing if you're teaching in a bigger platform. It's the same way. There might be people walk away and go, well, that was crap. I wasted a bunch of money for nothing. But maybe that one person wasn't paying attention enough, or it's getting to a mindset too when you go into these trainings is, if you already walk in and act like you know it all, and then you're not going to get anything out of it. And then you're just going to be sitting there taking up space, and you're going to walk away pissed off because you feel like you wasted your money because you didn't learn anything, because you already came in acting like you know it all. So same thing, you gotta read some of these things or go in these trainings with an open mind, and really honestly sometimes just clear your mind and let somebody else fill it for you. And you usually walk away with a brain full of new stuff. So
100%.
that's, right, dude. It's just you just got to be humble. Humble is teaching, humble is listening, humble is all encompassing. It's how you learn. And if you have an ego, you're never going to learn. If you think you know it all, it's just going to bounce off, and you're not going to absorb anything. So, I love what you got going on, dude. Like I said, you've been doing great. I'm so happy to have you on here, especially now for us. We're getting late. It's almost 11 o'clock. Like, again, this old man's going to get ready to go to bed, because I usually don't stay up this late unless there's calls going on. So I appreciate you, Alex. It's been great talking to you. I can't wait to have you on again. If anybody wants to see what's going on with Alex, Project Backstep, he's on the platforms. He's got some really good informational videos that he posts. You're on YouTube as well, correct?
No, just Facebook right now.
Just the Facebooks. Okay.
Just the Facebooks. Yeah.
Just the Book of Faces. All right.
Yep.
So check it out. He really does a great job with breaking down some good skills of how to move with hoses, how to flow. He's really been, like I said, you're super humble with the way you present it, and you're doing a great job, dude. And I'm proud to have you. You're going to be going on to do big things, I could tell. And I'm excited to see how well you grow and to see what else is going on with you, dude.
I appreciate it, brother. It's been an honor. Like I said, you reached out, and I've been like pacing around the house for the last 3 hours, nervous as crap. If you would have told me back in September when I made the page, like, someone's going to ask you to be on a podcast and Raymond Dorval's going to share your post and all this shit, I would have been like, dude, just get out. I'll be lucky if 10 people like my page.
I'm right there with you, man.
Crazy.
When people like multiple calls on Instagram there and podcasts, like when he shared something of mine, I immediately took a picture and sent it to somebody else. I'm like, oh my God, he just shared that. Like, I still get really giddy and very excited, because I don't know who I'm reaching. I don't know who I'm talking to. So, but I see your stuff, man. You're doing great stuff. And I'm so honored to have you on here. because again, I'm going to be watching you. You're going to be keep going up, and you're going to be doing some amazing things. So you watch, it's going to happen. I'm just proud to be able to talk to you and get know more about you. So thank you so much, dude.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, brother.
All right, Alex, Project Backstep. Make sure you check them out. Thank you all for tuning in to the C.A.N Report. I appreciate you. Be safe. Be well. I love you. Nozzle Tov.